There was this one very pretty boy. He said to me, could I bring my boyfriend over and would you do a portrait of both of us? And nobody knows that he has AIDS except he does and his boyfriend does. So his boyfriend is consciously bringing him here before he even looks sick because he knows this is the moment. It's now or never. I began spending most of the 80s in that mode of feeling that I'm here for this reason. I would shoot somebody and then be invited to his memorial service 2 months later. I'm a 72-year-old New York native gay man, and I've been photographing men and gay men here in New York City for more than 40 years. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, USA in 1945, January 8th, Capricorn. I grew up in a creative family. My father was a decorator, my mother painted. I always knew that I was different. And at first I didn't know what the difference was, but I knew that it was a bad thing and that I couldn't tell anybody because it was a bad thing. And back then in the 60s, the only thing you knew about being gay, the only thing I knew about being gay was what the media told me. I remember reading this article. It was about the rise of overt homosexuality in New York City and what a problem it was, meaning they were seeing real gay people interact in society on different levels. Gay life was on that street, Christopher Street. I had this romanticism inside me about the Village and the West Village. Somehow I knew that behind those dark windows at night, there were gay lives going on. I knew that it was there, but that's all I knew because we didn't have any cultural history available to us in any media or any level. You had to find your way on your own. So over here, Eric, is I guess you would say my archive. Let's go here to the middle. This drawer I call Out Over Time, and it's just stuff that I took out on the street or outside. I always remember this year, 1976, because so much happened that year. I remember being in Fire Island, and there, sitting outside the swimming pool in his bathing suit, dripping wet, was this guy with U.S. Marine Corps tattoos. There was nothing gay looking about him. I just knew I had to walk up to him, and I knew I had to say, "Can I take your picture?" So that kind of started it. I've never really seen very many pictures so far in my life of men with tattoos. For a long time, I just followed and talked to every tattooed arm I could find and stopped them and hoped that they would also say, "Oh, I got something else too, and I'll show you some secret." And to me, that was the best of all, was being able to photograph a secret body. I was also part of this other secret society that was a society of men. In that period, I learned how to just see men on the street and know who I could walk up to and who would respond to me in a positive way. It just became like a sixth sense. I needed to find out our stories, and we didn't have any visual history, and so I didn't think there was anything wrong with being a gay photographer. Sunday was the day. Sunday afternoon, no matter where you lived in the city, you walked the length of Christopher Street down toward the West Side Highway. Some figured out that there was a hole in the fence, and if you squeezed through the hole, you found yourself in this world of empty piers and the Hudson River. It became a gay playland. It was a total sexual world that began there. That whole pier thing became a way for us to know each other. The pier thing was a way we could meet. and see each other. And you could play, or you could not play, or you could look or not look, or you could take pictures, which I did. The cops knew about, of course the cops knew what was happening, but they didn't care. If you found somebody you really wanted to have sex with, you could find some like obscure corner in one of the piers and just lose yourself in this fantasy world, you know? I remember that toward, I guess it was the end of the 70s, the gay community started to feel its own presence. There was this thing called the Firehouse. It was like some gay organization got together and rented this firehouse, and they would give weekend dances there. And all of a sudden we went from having to be in mob-owned clubs in basements to something that we were managing ourselves. And a lot of it always was based on dancing and music. It was music that was making us a tribe, and that was glorious. And over here is all Gay Pride Day, and I feel like I'm comfortable there and I belong there. You know, some brave queer people in the West Village decided, you know, to make some signs, I guess after Stonewall, and on the anniversary of Stonewall, maybe it started, you know, walking down the West Village streets. That brings me to standing on the street on a Gay Pride Sunday and looking at this group of guys standing there in the sun, talking and laughing. And I'm sitting there with my camera and I'm looking at them and I'm going, you know, I know that guy, or he looks familiar to me. And then it kind of clicked in my head that I'd seen these guys for hours and hours in gay bars at night, that we all saw each other in the dark. And then all of a sudden, here we are in this one day where we're all standing there in the light, in the bright light. We didn't have many opportunities to do that or see each other like that. When we leave the 70s, everybody is very happy. Everybody is very giddy almost at the amount of sexual liberation that's transpired from the 60s through the 70s. And then the 70s are over and it's the 80s. In a house in Fire Island. And there in the newspaper is a story about a mysterious, fatal, deadly thing that's happening to gay men. It was like reading a science fiction thing, you know? What the fuck is this? And that was sort of the start of it. It got more and more frightening all the time. And that began a different period in my own photography. I bought a medium format that's a square picture that allowed me to take much richer pictures. I was inviting them to my studio and I wanted to record them now. I was very clear now because none of us knew how long we were going to be here. It was a death sentence, and that was that. There was this one very pretty boy, and after the shoot, you know, a month later, 2 months later, he said to me, "Could I bring my boyfriend over and would you do a portrait of both of us?" Which began this whole concept of gay couple photographs for me. He brings this guy over, and the guy is like a marble statue god. He's like this Roman face and this amazing nose and chin, and he's tall, dark, and handsome, and he's like fucking amazing, gorgeous guy. And nobody knows that he has AIDS except he does and his boyfriend does. So his boyfriend is consciously bringing him here before he even looks sick, because he knows this is the moment. It's now or never. I began spending most of the 80s in that mode of feeling that I'm here for this reason. It started to materialize faster than I could even imagine. I would shoot somebody and then be invited to his memorial service 2 months later. It was like that fast. Gay Pride Day had always, for me, been, as I kept going, it became a place where what it really truly was for all of us was a day you met your friends. And every year, there were less friends, you know? The 80s were about health awareness. Gay men were forming art groups and making art related to illness. Gay men were forming together with lesbians, were joining us in support. Gay life changed. More young gay people came out, and they had a better awareness of what not to do so they could live and not get AIDS. That started to increase our numbers again, I think. And then gay pride exploded that one day. It wasn't just me and my friends anymore on Christopher Street. It just became miles and miles of gay people from all over the world who would come to New York on that one day at the end of June. And you got to see all the different ages and levels. Now, it's younger people marching because it's a day to celebrate their existence. And you didn't have to hide it anymore from your friends or your family or your parents. And you could march down Fifth Avenue in front of everybody and feel like you are a valid human being. To grow up free of that guilt and negativity and shame. I'm an old guy now, you know, and I don't know what the world of young gay men or women is like, really, you know. I see that they're just freer. They don't have our baggage. They don't have the baggage of my generation. I'm caught in the trauma of my own past and our collective past. Now, at this point in my life, if I try to think of what we all share, it's a uniqueness and a strength. It's a beautiful, wonderful uniqueness that deserves to be honored, that we deserve to honor each other. We deserve to love each other. I just feel that we've evolved to not being a secret.